stood at the viewing platform of the military base, watching the human ships arrive. He had been assigned to study these newcomers, these beings from a planet called Earth. The Galactic Coalition had discovered them only months ago, and now they were here to help fight the war. The ships were strange, not beautiful like vessels or efficient like warships. They looked functional, almost ugly, made notes on his data pad. Already he was confused. "You must be the analyst," a voice said behind him. Turned, a human stood there wearing a military uniform. The creature looked ordinary. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head with 2 eyes, nothing special, nothing that screamed warrior race. "I am," he said, bowing slightly as was proper. "You are." "Commander 1, 7th Human Expeditionary Fleet." The human extended his hand forward. Stared at it. What was this gesture? "Sorry," one said, lowering his hand. "Forgot you're not familiar. It's called a handshake, a greeting." "Ah, greetings, Commander," studied the human's face. It showed no fear, no aggression, just calm. "I am here to document your people's combat capabilities." "Well, you picked an interesting time," one said. "They are hitting us hard this week." Even the name made scales tighten with fear. The swarm had destroyed dozens of worlds. They were relentless, biological nightmares that consumed everything. They walked through the base together, observed everything. Humans were everywhere and they were doing odd things. Some were running in circles, sweating, breathing hard. Others were lifting heavy objects repeatedly. A group was hitting each other in some kind of organized violence, but they were laughing. "What are they doing?" asked. "Exercise," one explained. "Keeping fit, training." "But you have medical technology. Why torture your bodies?" The commander smiled. "We like to be ready, besides it feels good." "Feels good" made more notes. These humans were very strange. They entered the medical bay. A human female was organizing supplies. She looked up and smiled. "Commander, who's your friend?" "This is our observer. This is Hayrim, our chief medical officer." Noticed Hayrim's hands. They were many scars. "You have been injured often?" he asked. Hayrim glanced at her hands. "Oh, these, just from field work. You see a lot of rough stuff as a combat medic." She said it casually, as if scars were normal. "Combat medic," repeated. "You go into battle." "Of course, someone has to patch people up." She smiled again, that strange human expression. Felt dizzy. In his culture, medical staff stayed far from danger. They were too valuable to risk, but humans sent their healers into combat. Later, in the command center, met the coalition generals. They were discussing the humans with barely hidden contempt. "Barely spacefaring," General said, his tentacles waving dismissively. "They have primitive weapons, no shield technology, and their ships are slow." "But their numbers are good," another general added. "They can absorb damage while our forces retreat." Absorb damage, they meant die, felt sick. The coalition was using humans as shields. "Do the humans know this?" he asked quietly. The generals looked at him. "They volunteered," said. "Not our problem if they don't understand modern warfare." That evening sat in the mess hall eating his ration pack. The humans were eating too, but they were loud. They talked, they laughed, they told stories. Some were singing. Singing before a battle. A young human sat down across from him. "Mind if I join you?" "Please," said. "I'm Bo Young, engineer." The human opened a ration pack and made a face. Not the beef stew again." "You do not like your food." "It's terrible, but it's calories." Bo Young ate anyway. "So, what do you think of us so far?" Considered his words carefully. "I am confused. Your people do not seem afraid." "Afraid of what?" The battle tomorrow." Bo Young shrugged. "Oh, we're afraid. We're just not letting it stop us." "I do not understand." "Fear is just information," Bo Young explained. "It tells you there's danger, but you still have to do the job." Before could respond, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Everyone moved at once. "Ships detected," a voice announced. "Multiple contacts entering orbit." The command center became chaos. Coalition forces scrambled, ships launched. The generals were shouting orders. "All forces retreat to defensive positions," commanded. "Prepare for evacuation protocols." But the humans did not move. "Commander 1 said sharply, "Your forces need to fall back." "Negative," one said calmly. "We're holding this position." "That's suicide." "That's our job." Watched in shock as the humans refused orders. They moved to forward positions instead. They checked their weapons. They prepared fighting positions. And then something even stranger happened. Music started playing. Loud music over every communication channel. It had a heavy beat, aggressive sounds. Did not understand it, but he felt it. The vibrations, the rhythm. "What is that?" he asked HFY, who was loading medical supplies. "War music," she said, "gets the blood pumping." "Why do you need your blood to pump? It already does that." She laughed. "It's an expression. It means it gets us excited, ready." Looked at his scanner. The ships were close now. Hundreds of them, bioships with weapons that could melt stone, and the humans were playing music. He watched Commander 1 in the command center. The human's face was still calm. He was giving orders in a steady voice. No panic, no fear showing. "All units, this is 1, the commander said. "Remember your training, watch your sectors, take care of each other, and let's show these bugs why you don't mess with humanity." The human soldiers cheered, actually cheered. His hands shook as he made his notes. Nothing about this made sense. The coalition forces were retreating to safe positions, the logical action, the smart action. But the humans were advancing. The first bioships entered the atmosphere, saw them on the screens. Massive, organic things that looked like flying nightmares. They launched acid pods and biomissiles. The humans opened fire. Watched as human weapons lit up the sky. They had no shields, so they relied on armor and speed. Their ships dodged and weaved. Their ground forces fired missiles. "Shouldn't we evacuate?" asked anyone who would listen. A human soldier nearby, checking his rifle, looked at him. "Evacuate? The fun's just starting." Fun, they called this fun. The music got louder. The humans moved faster and realized with growing horror that they were not just defending. They were excited. The battle was beginning, and the humans welcomed it. The bioships filled the sky like a swarm of insects, counted 60, then 80, then stopped counting. There were too many. His data pad calculated their firepower and showed him the results. The base would fall within 2 hours. But the humans did not run. Followed HFY to a bunker that served as a medical station. Through the reinforced windows, he could see human fighters launching into space. Small craft, barely bigger than transport shuttles, racing toward the massive bioships. "This is suicide," said. HFY was arranging medical equipment. "Probably," she agreed, "but someone has to do it." On the communication channel, heard a human pilot speaking. His call sign was Dong. "Control, this is Eagle 7. I have visual on the big one. Permission to engage." "Eagle 7, you are clear. Happy hunting." Watched on the scanner as Dong's fighter dove straight at a capital ship. The bioship launched defense organisms, living projectiles that exploded on impact. Dong's fighter twisted, turned, spun. The moves should have been impossible. The gravitational forces should have killed him. "His body cannot survive those turns," said, checking the telemetry data. "Oh, he's probably blacking out every few seconds," HFY said casually. "They train for it." "Blacking out, losing consciousness." "Yeah, you pull too many, blood leaves your brain, you pass out. But they wake up fast and keep flying." Stared at her. "That is insane." "That's Dong, best pilot we have." On screen, Dong's fighter launched missiles into a weak point on the bioship's hull. The explosion was massive. The ship began falling from orbit, trailing biological fluid. Eagle 7, good kill. Return to base. Negative control. I see 3 more that need attention. Dong turned his damaged fighter toward the next target. Could see the hull was melting from acid damage, but the pilot kept fighting. On the ground, it was worse. Sergeant Jin was holding a defensive line at the base perimeter, watched through security cameras. The ground forces were horrible things, insect-like creatures with acid blood and razor claws. They moved in waves, hundreds at a time. Jin's squad was only 12 humans. They should have been overrun in minutes, but something was wrong with calculations. The humans were not falling back. They were not dying fast enough. One human took a claw strike that tore through his armor. He screamed, shot the at point-blank range, and kept fighting. Another lost her helmet to acid spray. The chemical burned her face, but she dropped to one knee and kept firing. "Why do they not retreat?" asked. "Because they're holding the line," HFY said. She was watching too, her face tight. "If they fall back, they'll reach the medical bunkers, the civilians, the wounded. But they will die." "Maybe, maybe not. Humans are stubborn." The battle went on for hours. Watched his chronometer. 4 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours. Jin's squad was still holding. He checked their vital signs on his scanner. The readings were horrifying. Elevated heart rates, massive adrenaline levels, pain indicators in the red zone. These humans should have collapsed from exhaustion or shock. But they kept fighting. At hour 14, left the medical bunker. He had to see this with his own eyes. HFY tried to stop him, but he pushed past her. Outside was hell. The air smelled of burning metal and organic decay. Explosions lit up the darkening sky. The sound of gunfire was constant. And there, at the defensive wall, was Jin's squad. They looked like they had been through a meat grinder. Armor cracked, bleeding from multiple wounds. One man's arm hung useless at his side, but he was firing his rifle with the other hand. "Sergeant," a young soldier yelled, "we're down to 30% ammunition." "Then make every shot count," Jin yelled back. Her voice was raw from screaming orders. A warrior broke through the line. It was massive, covered in chitin armor. Its claws dripped acid. It charged at a human named Jin. Jin's rifle was empty. He dropped it, pulled out a knife, and ran at a knife against a creature 3 times his size. The claw caught Jin in the chest. Heard ribs crack. Blood sprayed. But Jin grabbed the claw, pulled himself closer, and drove his knife into the creature's eye socket. He stabbed again and again until the fell. Then Jin collapsed. Ran to him. The wound was terrible. No one should survive this. But Jin was laughing. Blood bubbled from his lips as he laughed. "Did you see that?" he asked. "Did you see me kill that thing?" "You are dying," said. "Yeah, probably," Jin coughed. "But I got it, that's what matters." HFY arrived with a medical team. They loaded Jin onto a stretcher. "You're not dying today, Jin. Stop being dramatic." "Oh, Doc, I was having a moment." They carried him away, still joking. Stood in the battlefield, surrounded by chaos, and realized something. These humans were not brave. Brave implied overcoming fear. These humans had something else. They had simply decided that fear was not important. An explosion nearby threw him to the ground. His ears rang. Through the smoke, he saw a human engineer named Bo Young working on a destroyed defense cannon. The weapon was clearly broken, melted by acid and shrapnel. "That cannot be repaired," said. Bo Young did not even look up. "Everything can be repaired." She was welding pieces together with a hand torch. She wrapped exposed wires with some kind of silver tape. "This is duct tape. Human miracle substance. Fixes anything." "That is not possible." "Watch me." 10 minutes later, the cannon fired. It was held together with tape, wire, and what appeared to be hope, but it fired, and it killed. The sun was setting on the second day when something changed. The attacks became less organized, more desperate, checked the tactical display and could not believe what he saw. They were retreating, not falling back tactically, actually running away. How? Asked Commander 1 in the command center. One looked exhausted. His eyes were red. He had not slept in 2 days. We hurt them bad. They didn't expect resistance. But you lost so many. 347 dead, one said quietly. Another 600 wounded, out of 3,000, he paused. But we held the line. Did the math. Nearly 1/3 casualties. Any other species would call that a disaster. But the humans called it a victory. Later in the medical bay, found Jin. The young soldier was in a regeneration tank, unconscious. HFY was checking his vital signs. Will he live? Asked. Yes, he'll be back on duty in a week, maybe 2. She touched the glass of the tank gently. Stubborn idiot. He said something to me, remembered. Before you took him, he said I had not seen anything yet, that I should wait until you get angry. HFY looked at him. Her eyes were tired but sharp. He's right. What do you mean? This, she gestured at the medical bay full of wounded humans. This was just defense. This was us protecting our position. She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. You haven't seen us attack yet. Felt cold despite the warm air. When humans get angry, HFY continued, when we decide something needs to end, we don't stop. We don't negotiate, we finish it. Outside, the night sky was still filled with burning ships. The battle was over. The base was saved. But understood now, this was not a victory for the humans. This was just the beginning. The alert came 3 days after the first battle. Was in his quarters, still writing his reports when the alarm screamed to life. This time was different. The alarm pattern meant one thing: planet killers. He ran to the command center. Every screen showed the same nightmare. They had deployed their siege beasts, had seen the reports. These creatures were biological weapons the size of buildings. They had destroyed 17 worlds. Nothing stopped them. 3 of them were descending on Prime's capital city. Full evacuation, General ordered. All coalition forces to evacuation points. We cannot hold against siege beasts. What about the civilians in the capital? Someone asked. Acceptable losses. We save who we can. Felt sick. The capital held 3 million, his people. Commander 1 stepped forward. Give us 72 hours. His tentacles curled in surprise. What? 3 days, don't evacuate yet. Let us try something. You cannot fight siege beasts with small arms. We're not planning to. One's face was hard. Give us 3 days. You have 3,000 soldiers. They have siege beasts and 1 million warriors. This is madness. Probably, one agreed. But we didn't come all this way to run. Stared at him, then waved a tentacle in dismissal. Fine, 3 days, then we evacuate with or without you. 2 hours later, found himself in a transport with human soldiers heading to the capital. He had no authorization to be there. He should have stayed at the base, but he had to see this. He had to understand. The humans were different now. The joking was gone. They checked their weapons in silence. Their faces were set hard. Jin sat across from him, cleaning her rifle. You shouldn't be here, she said. I am an observer, I observe. You might die. Then I die understanding. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Fair enough. They landed in the capital as the sun set. The city was chaos. Civilians were fleeing. Buildings burned. In the distance could see the siege beasts. They were even worse in person. Living nightmares with skin like stone and mouths that shot acid. Commander 1 gathered his officers in a ruined building. He spread out a map. The siege beasts are the priority, he said. Everything else is secondary. Sang-ho, what do you have? A human with scars covering his arms stepped forward. Sang-ho, the demolitions expert. We brought the special packages. Nuclear mines placed correctly should do the job, but someone has to plant them close, very close. How close? Inside would be best. The humans looked at each other. No one protested. No one said it was impossible. "I'll lead the team," a woman said. Major, she was small, barely came up to shoulder. "I've done xenobiology research. I know where their weak points are." "You studied siege beasts?" asked. "For 3 weeks, ever since we knew they might deploy them. Humans are good at learning how to kill things." The plan was insane. Teams would approach the siege beasts, enter them through their intake vents, and detonate explosives from inside. The teams would die. There was no way to escape. "I need volunteers," said. Every human in the room raised their hand. She chose 20. They gathered their equipment, watched them prepare explosives that could level buildings. They strapped them to their bodies like they were putting on normal gear. A young soldier, barely looked 20, was checking his charges. His name tag read. "How old are you?" asked. 19 Earth years. "You are too young to die." Smiled, "Maybe, but I'm not too young to make sure those things don't eat any more cities." That night the humans began their attack, but not the way expected. They did not charge, they hunted. Small teams moved through the ruined city. They used this own biology against them. Sang-Ho had created something he called a pheromone bomb. It mimicked distress signals. When it went off, warriors went crazy, attacking each other. Followed one team through the sewers. They moved silent, efficient. When they found, they did not just kill them. They mutilated them, left the bodies where others would find them. "Why do that?" asked Jin. "Psychology. We want them scared. Scared enemies make mistakes." "The do not feel fear." "Everything feels fear. We just have to speak their language." And the humans did. They broadcast captured screams over speakers. They used their own dead as bait for traps. They fought dirty, mean, vicious. But they also protected civilians. Watched as the same soldiers who fought like monsters would stop to help evacuate families. They gave their food to children. They carried the elderly to safety. "How can you be so different?" asked Harem, who was treating a wounded child. "Different how?" "So kind and so cruel." She thought about it while bandaging the child's arm. "We're kind to people who need help. We're cruel to people who hurt the innocent. It's not complicated." On the second day, Major led her team toward the largest siege beast, watched from a command post. Cameras showed everything. The team moved like ghosts. They reached the beast's intake vent, a massive opening that sucked in air and organic matter. One by one, they entered. Inside was hell. The siege beast's interior was filled with digestive acids and grinding mechanisms. The team fought through parasites that lived in the beast's gut. They climbed through flesh and bone. Heard's voice over the radio. "Charges placed, 30 seconds. "Major, get out," one ordered. "No time, Commander, and honestly, not sure I could find the exit." She sounded calm, like she was discussing the weather. "It's been an honor," she said. "The honor is ours, Major." The charges detonated. The siege beast's chest exploded from inside. It collapsed, crushing buildings, but it was dead. One down, 2 to go. The second fell to concentrated fire from human artillery. They had discovered its brain was poorly armored and hammered it with shells for 6 hours until it stopped moving. The third was the problem. It had learned. It stayed in the open, away from buildings. It was heading for the civilian evacuation point. Watched the screens. Thousands of civilians, mostly running. The siege beast behind them, and between them one human squad. Squad 12 soldiers. "Fall back," one ordered. "You cannot stop it alone." "Negative," replied. "Civilians need more time." "That's an order, soldier." "Sorry, Commander. Bad connection, can't hear you." Watched as 12 humans positioned themselves in the street. They had one anti-vehicle cannon and their personal weapons. against a siege beast. The beast came. It was massive, unstoppable. It fired acid that melted the street. The humans fired back. They could not hurt it. Their weapons were too small, but they kept firing, drawing its attention, keeping it focused on them and not the fleeing civilians. Was on the cannon. He fired shell after shell into the beast's face. It barely noticed. One by one his squad fell. Acid, claws, the beast's massive feet crushing buildings. Was alone. The cannon was out of ammunition. The beast was 20 meters away. Expected him to run. Any sane being would run. Instead, picked up a rifle and charged. He shot the beast's eye. It barely slowed. A massive claw swung down and disappeared in smoke and debris. But the civilians had escaped, all of them. No, whispered. Then the third siege beast stopped. It shuddered and fell. Sang-Ho's voice came over the radio. Tunnel team reporting. Charges planted under target 3. It's down. While everyone watched his heroic stand, another human team had been digging tunnels underneath the beast. They had mined the ground beneath it. The humans had used distraction and sacrifice as weapons. On the third day, they began retreating, not just from the capital, from the entire planet. Their forces to orbit, then jumped to hyperspace. For the first time in 600 years of galactic warfare, the swarm had surrendered a world. Walked through the ruined capital. Human soldiers were everywhere, helping with recovery. Some were digging through rubble, looking for survivors. Others were treating wounded. He found one standing over a grave marker. His name was written on it. He did not have to die, said. No, one agreed. But he chose to. That's what makes us human. We choose. I do not understand your species. Neither do we sometimes. One looked tired, so tired. But we try to choose the right thing, even when it costs us everything. That night filed his report, but he could not find the right words. How do you explain a species that runs toward death, that fights with joy and dies with laughter? He settled on one sentence. Humanity is not strong because they survive. They are strong because they choose what to die for. The numbers were worse than expected. 1,847 humans dead. Out of 3,000 soldiers, more than half were casualties. In any other military, this would be called a disaster, a failure of command. The humans called it a victory. Attended the memorial service 3 days after the battle ended. The humans had cleared a field outside the capital. They placed markers for each fallen soldier. Simple white crosses in rows. So many rows. Commander 1 stood before the assembled humans. His uniform was clean, but his face showed every hour of lost sleep. He spoke clearly, his voice carrying across the field. We gather today to honor those who gave everything. They came from a distant world to protect people they never met. They fought against nightmares and did not break. They are heroes, everyone. The humans stood in silence. No one cried, not yet. They were too disciplined for that, but could see their pain. It was in their eyes, their rigid postures, the way they gripped each other's shoulders. After the ceremony, soldiers visited the graves individually. They left objects, photos, medals, personal items. One young man left a bottle of alcohol. Another left a small toy. Approached a woman standing at a grave. She was crying now, quiet tears running down her face. Her name was Min. Did you know this soldier? He asked gently. Jin, yes, he was my brother. She touched the marker. He was 23, wanted to be a teacher when he got home. I am sorry. Don't be, he died protecting people, that's what he wanted. She wiped her eyes. That's what we all want, to matter, to make a difference. Had been studying humans for weeks now, he still did not understand. Your species is so young. Your planet has so many problems. Why come here? Why die for strangers? Min looked at him with red eyes. Because we know what it's like to be prey. For most of human history, we were hunted by predators, by each other. We know fear. So when we see others facing monsters, we remember, and we help. She walked away, leaving standing among the graves. That evening he found HFY in the medical center. She was still working, 96 hours after the battle ended. She had not slept. Her hands shook as she treated a wounded soldier. "You need rest," said. "I need to finish this." Her voice was rough. "3 more patients, then I'll sleep." But when she finished the 3rd patient, she just moved to another, and another, watched her work until she finally stopped at patient 7. She stood there, swaying, and then her legs gave out. Caught her before she hit the floor. She was crying now, shaking, all the stress and fear and pain finally breaking through. "So many dead," she whispered. "So many I couldn't save." "You saved hundreds." "It wasn't enough. It's never enough." He helped her to a cot. She fell asleep immediately, still in her bloody medical gear, covered her with a blanket and stood guard while she slept. Humans, he was learning, were not fearless. They were terrified. They just refused to let fear stop them. The Galactic Council, called an emergency session, was required to present his initial findings. He stood before the council, dozens of species watching him through holographic displays. "The humans are effective," he began. "Highly effective. They defeated siege beasts with minimal support. They held positions that should have been overrun. They achieved victory at terrible cost." "Acceptable casualties?" one counselor asked. 62%, dead or wounded." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. "And they consider this acceptable?" another counselor asked. "They consider it necessary." "What makes them so effective?" "Superior weapons, better armor." Pulled up his data. "No, their equipment is average by galactic standards. Their ships are slower, their weapons less powerful. What makes them effective is psychology." He showed them the recordings. Dong flying through maneuvers that should have killed him. Jin fighting with broken ribs. Charging a siege beast with just a rifle. "They do not have biological limits on aggression," explained. "Most species have built-in safeguards. Pain stops us. Fear stops us. Self-preservation is paramount. Humans can override all of that. They can choose to ignore their survival instincts." "That is insane," someone said. "Yes," agreed. "It is also what makes them dangerous." General spoke up. "We should recruit more humans. If they are willing to die so easily, we can use them for difficult operations." "No," said firmly. "You misunderstand. They do not die easily. They die purposefully. They will only fight for causes they believe in." "Then what do they believe in?" Thought about mince words, about HFY's exhaustion, about one steady command. "They believe in protecting others. They believe in loyalty to their unit. They believe in doing what they think is right, regardless of cost." "Dangerous," a counselor muttered. "A species that ignores survival in favor of ideals." "Very dangerous," agreed, "to their enemies." After the session was approached by a human he had not met before. The man was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. His name was Min. "I heard your presentation," Min said. "You're trying to understand us." "Yes, I am failing." Min smiled. "Most humans don't understand humans. We're complicated." He sat down, gestured for to join him. "Can I tell you something?" "Please." "Humans are afraid all the time. Every day. We're afraid of death, pain, loss, failure. We're probably the most fearful species you'll ever meet. But you fight anyway." "Because we're more afraid of something else." Min leaned forward. "We're more afraid of letting each other down, of failing the people who depend on us, of being cowards. Those fears are stronger than the fear of death." "So you overcome fear with fear." "In a way, we're social creatures, pack animals. The worst thing for a human is not death. It's dying knowing we abandoned our pack, our team, our family." Thought about this. "So your strength comes from connection." "Yes, and from memory. We remember every time someone sacrificed for us. Every time someone stood when they could have run, we carry those memories and they make us strong. Later accessed the human database. He requested their history files. What he found shocked him. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself. Multiple times, nuclear weapons, biological warfare, environmental collapse, they had come within years of extinction. But they had survived. They had learned. They had decided to work together instead of destroying each other. He found their wars, thousands of them, humans fighting humans for territory, resources, beliefs. They had spent perfecting the art of killing each other. And then they had stopped, not completely but enough. They had formed a global government, united their species, turned their weapons outward instead of inward. Commander One had said something. We fight so hard out here because we never want to fight each other again. Finally understood. Humans were dangerous because they had learned to be dangerous fighting the most dangerous opponents possible, themselves. They had evolved to fight equals, to outthink, outmaneuver, outstubborn other humans. Every tactic, every strategy, every psychological trick had been tested against other humans. And now they brought all that experience to fight aliens who had never faced such an opponent. They were strong, numerous, ruthless, but they had never fought a species that treated war as both an art and a science, that studied enemies for weeks just to find their weaknesses, that would die cheerfully if it meant completing the mission. Filed his complete report, he titled it, The Human Paradox, Understanding Earth's Warrior Culture. His conclusion was simple. Humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy because they choose to be. They have the capacity for both extreme violence and extreme compassion. They will die to protect strangers. They will hunt enemies across star systems. They are loyal, stubborn, creative, and absolutely terrifying when threatened. They are the best allies and the worst enemies. I recommend we never give them a reason to become the latter. The Galactic Council classified his report immediately. Too dangerous for public release, they said. But word spread anyway. Within weeks, 17 coalition members requested human assistance for their own defensive operations. The swarm abandoned 17 more systems without even being engaged. Just the threat of human involvement was enough. Watch from his quarters as human ships deployed across the galaxy. They went willingly, these strange warriors from Earth. They went to protect people they had never met, to fight battles that were not their own. And everywhere they went, they sang their war music and told their jokes and made friends with the locals. And their enemies learned to fear them. 6 months after the Battle of Prime published his full report, his superiors had ordered him to keep it classified. He disobeyed. The galaxy needed to know the truth about humanity. The report went viral across every major network. Within hours, trillions of beings had read it. The reactions were immediate and divided. Some species panicked. The Empire called for humans to be contained, quarantined to their home system. They are too dangerous, their representatives said. They do not respect normal boundaries of behavior. Other species were fascinated. The collective invited human diplomats immediately. We wish to learn from them, their message said. And 3 species made a terrible mistake. The Venturi launched covert military strikes against human colonies. They believed humans could be defeated if caught off guard, eliminated before they became a real threat. They were wrong. The human response was swift and total. Within 2 weeks, all 3 species had withdrawn, managed to access the classified combat reports. What he read made his blood cold. The humans had not just defended, they had hunted. They tracked the attacking fleets back to their home systems and struck at military installations with surgical precision. No civilians were harmed, but every military asset was destroyed, completely. The message was clear. Attack us, and we will end your ability to ever attack anyone again. The Galactic Council called another emergency session. This time, the debate was different. "We must address the human question," the council speaker said. "They are altering the balance of power." "They saved Prime," argued. He had been invited to speak. "They have helped protect 17 worlds. They ask for nothing in return." "They ask for nothing because they are establishing dominance," a delegate hissed. "They are predators positioning themselves as saviors." "They are both," said. "That is what you do not understand. Humans contain contradictions. They are kind and cruel, gentle and violent, peaceful and warlike, all at once." "That is impossible." "No, that is human." The debate raged for days. Finally, the council made a decision. A delegation would visit Earth itself. They would study human civilization and determine if humanity could be trusted with greater responsibility in galactic affairs. Volunteered immediately. He had to see where these strange warriors came from. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks. Spent the time reviewing everything he knew about humans, their history of conflict, their art, their philosophy. It was overwhelming. When they arrived, he was surprised. Earth was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked peaceful. "Looks can be deceiving," one said. He had returned to Earth and volunteered to guide the delegation. "We've worked hard to make it look this peaceful." They landed in a city called Seoul, stepped out and immediately felt strange. There were millions of humans here going about their daily lives, shopping, working, laughing. They looked nothing like soldiers. "Where are the warriors?" he asked. One smiled. "You're looking at them. Every human is a potential warrior. We just choose not to be most of the time." The delegation toured human cities. They saw children playing in parks, artists creating beautiful works, scientists researching cures for diseases, humans being gentle, creative, kind. But they also saw memorials, museums dedicated to wars, monuments to fallen soldiers, reminders everywhere of humanity's violent past. Met with a human historian named Jin. She was old, with white hair and sharp eyes. She taught at a major university. "You want to understand us," she said, pouring tea. "That is wise. Many species do not try." "I have studied your wars," said. "So many of them, thousands of years of conflict." "Yes, we're very good at killing each other," she said it sadly. "For most of our history, that's what we did best." "What changed?" "We almost ended ourselves, several times. Nuclear weapons brought us to the edge. We looked into the abyss and decided we didn't like what we saw." She sipped her tea. "So we changed. Slowly, painfully, but we changed." "But you still fight." "Of course. Fighting is in our nature. But we chose to redirect it, to fight for others instead of against each other, to use our violence to protect instead of destroy." How does a species change its nature?" Jin smiled. "We didn't change our nature. We changed our purpose. Humans will always be aggressive, competitive, territorial, but we can choose what we compete for, what territory we defend, what cause we aggress toward." That evening attended a gathering at Commander One's home. It was a small apartment, modest and comfortable. Humans came and went, bringing food, sharing stories. Hayrim was there. She had recovered from her exhaustion and was laughing with other medics, telling stories about difficult patients. Jin arrived with her family, a spouse and 2 small children. The fierce sergeant who had held the line for 14 hours was now playing with children, making them giggle. Watched in wonder. These were warriors, these people who joked and hugged and played with children. But then he noticed details. The way they positioned themselves, always aware of exits, the scars on their bodies, the way they touched each other, constantly checking that their pack was safe, the sharp awareness in their eyes, even while laughing. They were warriors. They were always warriors. They had just learned to be other things too. A young girl approached. She looked about 7 years old. Her name was Da. "Are you the alien who watched my uncle fight?" she asked. "Your uncle? He died saving people." His heart sank. Yes, I saw him. He was very brave. Mommy says he's a hero. They held up a drawing. It showed a stick figure holding a rifle standing in front of other stick figures. I drew him, so I remember. It is a good drawing. When I grow up, I want to help people too. Maybe I'll be a doctor, or a teacher, or maybe a soldier like Uncle. She said it so casually, like choosing a career was choosing what to eat for dinner. You would be a soldier, fight and maybe die. De looked at him with serious eyes. If people need help, yes, that's what we do, we help. After she ran off, one sat down next to. Children said, they are so innocent, yet she speaks of war like it is normal. We teach them the truth, one said. Life is dangerous, people suffer, but we can help. We can fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. We can make a difference. Is that not a heavy burden for a child? Maybe, but it's also empowering. She knows she matters, that her choices have weight, that she can change things. Thought about this. In his culture, children were protected from harsh truths, kept innocent as long as possible. But humans taught their children about reality, about danger, about responsibility. And those children grew up to be warriors who ran toward danger instead of away from it. The next day, visited a refugee settlement on Earth. Thousands of his people had come here after Prime was damaged. He expected them to be unhappy, displaced from their home. Instead, he found them thriving. Human families had adopted many refugees, taught them human customs, helped them find work. Children played with human children in the streets. There was laughter, joy. An elderly woman approached him. You are the observer. Yes. Thank you. Your reports helped save my family. The humans came because of your reports. I only documented what I saw. And what you saw was the truth. Humans are strange, violent, but also kind, loyal. They have taken us in, strangers from another world, and made us family. She touched his arm. My granddaughter is learning to speak their language. She wants to join their medical corps when she grows up, to help others like the humans helped us. Felt something break inside him. All his analysis, all his reports, all his attempts to understand humans scientifically. And the simple truth was right here. Humans helped because it was right. They fought because it was necessary. They died because someone had to. And they did it all with a smile and a joke and war music playing in the background. He returned to the Galactic Council and gave his final report. I have studied humans for 6 months. I have seen them in battle and in peace. I have watched them kill and heal, and I can give you my conclusion. The council waited. Humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because they are strong, not because they are numerous, but because they choose. They choose to help or harm. They choose to build or destroy. They choose what to die for. And this makes them dangerous. How? The speaker asked. Because nothing can stop a species that has weaponized choice itself. If they decide something must be done, they will do it. No pain stops them. No fear stops them. They will find a way or die trying. Should we fear them? Looked at the council, at the representatives of hundreds of species. Fear them as enemies. Trust them as friends. They are loyal beyond reason, fierce beyond measure, and kind beyond expectation. They will die to protect you, but if you betray them, they will hunt you across the galaxy. And what do you recommend? I recommend we never give them a reason to hunt us. The Council voted. Humanity would be granted full membership in the Galactic Coalition. They would be given voting rights, territory, and recognition as an equal partner. Some species objected. They would regret it later. 5 years passed. Returned to Prime. The planet had been rebuilt, better than before. Humans had helped with the construction, sharing their engineering knowledge freely. He visited the memorial field. The white crosses were still there, but now had added their own monument. A massive stone structure carved with the names of every human who had died defending their world. The inscription read, They came from the stars as strangers. They died as heroes. They will be remembered as family. Stood there reading the names. Major Jin, hundreds more, each one a story, each one a choice to stand when they could have run. A human approached him. It was Jin, now a major herself. She had a small child with her, maybe 3 years old. She said warmly, "Good to see you." "And you, is this your child?" "Yes, this is, named after my friend who fell here." The child looked up at the monument with wide eyes. "Big," the child said. "Yes, baby, very big. Those are heroes up there." Heroes? People who helped others, who were brave. Felt his eyes water. A human child named after a fallen warrior standing at a monument to sacrifice. The cycle continued. Humans teaching their children about duty, honor, sacrifice. "Do you regret it?" he asked Jin quietly. "So many dead, was it worth it?" She looked at him, then at her child, then at the monument. Every single one of them chose to be here, chose to fight, chose to die if necessary. We regret the loss. We mourn them every day, but regret their choice. Never. They died doing exactly what they wanted to do, protecting others. "You are all insane." She laughed. "Probably, but we're your insane friends, and that means something." Closed his journal. His final entry. 5 years of observation, study, and friendship had taught him everything he needed to know about humanity. He wrote, "I watched humanity storm the battlefield. I saw them fight and die. I saw them laugh in the face of death and sing while charging into hell. I know now why the cosmos fears their power. But I also know why I trust them with my life. Because when humans decide you are worth protecting, they will storm hell itself to keep you safe. They will die before they abandon you. They will fight armies, face nightmares, and challenge gods if that is what it takes. They are dangerous because they care. They are terrifying because they love. They are unstoppable because they choose to be. And I am honored to call them friends." He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were patrolling. Human soldiers were training. Human medics were healing. Human engineers were building. All of them ready to storm the battlefield one more time. All of them choosing to stand. And the cosmos, which had known peace, would learn what it meant to have humanity as protector. Smiled, he understood now. Finally, completely understood. Humanity's power was not in their weapons or their ships or their tactics. It was in their hearts, in their stubborn refusal to give up, in their fierce loyalty and reckless courage. And that power would change the galaxy forever.